listen, not just Liverpool, but any of the sides outside the top four have to look at the fourth place spot, and that's Chelsea. And Chelsea are at home to West Brom, who, quite frankly, are, in my opinion, dead and buried. So anybody chasing Chelsea is going to have to win. And Liverpool at Arsenal is going to be a tough game. It's certainly not a given. Both sides, actually, you're not quite sure right now what you're going to get. And so this is going to be a tough game. So it's a must-win for Liverpool if they have any aspirations of the top four, which obviously they have. But unfortunately for them and everybody else, Chelsea are playing West Brom at home. So I'm not that optimistic still.
Craig, a loss would put Liverpool 8 points out of the top four. You agree with Stevie then? A must-win for top four hopes?
Yeah, they've got to put a run together to have any chance and hope that Chelsea start leaking goals, which they haven't done. We think pretty much Leicester and Man United will be in there. I'm not expecting Leicester to win at the weekend, but pretty much I think they'll be in there. So they are, as Stevie said, looking at Chelsea, and all they can do now is just try and put the best run they can put together between now and end of the season. They've not been able to do that so far. The one big bonus is they've got Diego Jota back recently, and he was in great goal-scoring form for Portugal. It was almost like he picked the baton straight up from the early season form when he signed for Liverpool. So that's another option for them. Henderson's still out. But it seems unlikely that they're going to be able to put maybe out of, I think, 8 games left or something. They're probably going to need at least 7 victories out of those at least. And they've not been able to do that this year. So, yeah, it's a must-win for them. And then all they can do is just keep plugging away because they don't want to be in that dreaded Europa League next year.
Stevie, how do you see this one playing out?
I think Liverpool will win ultimately. I think it will be tight. Arsenal can't keep a clean sheet. I mean, you could say that Liverpool struggle with that, but Arsenal can't keep a clean sheet. And I don't suppose Saka, who I think has been the most important player whenever he's been on the field, he's been the one that's opened everyone up. I don't believe he'll play. He got injured with England, and Arsenal can't afford to take a chance with this kid. So I think Liverpool will just edge it.
Craig, you agree with Stevie?
Yeah, I think so. And it's interesting that Jurgen Klopp seems irked as well by not only everything that's been surrounding him this season with the injuries, which is understandable, and then the fixtures and everything that goes with when his team kicked off and what day they kicked off. He now seems irked with the international manager, Gareth Southgate, for not selecting Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, he's like, trying to question the international manager now as well, when I'm sure Gareth Southgate doesn't ring Jurgen Klopp up and say, why does so-and-so not play? So it just seems that everything has got under his skin this year. But I do think Liverpool will eventually come out of this. Certainly we'll come out of it next year. But I could see them getting a few results between now and the end of the season. Whether that'll be enough, I don't know. But I could see them beating this Arsenal side at the weekend, who did lose 3 goals at West Ham and were beaten by Olympiacos at home, although they did make it through in the Europa League.
Craig, let's turn our attention to Leicester City and Manchester City. Right now, there's 7 points between Leicester City and 5th place. Is it enough? Because we all remember what happened last year.
Yeah, and that's the worry for them, is that they have had some injuries to key players, particularly Vardy a few weeks ago, and now Maddison, who's been huge for them. And Wilfred Ndidi was out the side for a long time. And they just don't have the recruitments that the other teams have. So, yeah, that is a possibility for them, and I think that's a big problem for them coming into this game. It's a game against City, which was a real weird one at the Etihad, where Leicester won 5-2. They got 3 penalties, and it was City's early season form was really bad. We know it's not the same Man City side now, and it's also a City team that Guardiola's had the luxury of a lot of his big guys having a rest in this international couple of games, because some of the guys stayed at home, like Laporte. And other guys from South America, the Premier League dug their heels in because of all the quarantine issues, and they didn't have to travel. So quite a few City players have had a rest, should be well prepared for this to finish the season strong.
Stevie, Craig mentions it, the reverse fixture between these two teams, 5-2 to Leicester City. What kind of result do you think we get on Saturday?
I think clearly you have to think that City are favourites, but Even though Leicester are missing some of their players, like Sir Maddison and Harvey Barnes as well, think about what they did to Manchester United. You know, they broke on them with devastating ease, and Iheanacho is in an incredible run of form. Listen, Vardy as well. He's due a goal. So this Leicester City side are capable of breaking on anybody. As good as Stones and Diaz and that back line's been, they're going to have their hands full, because Leicester will sit tight, I think, initially, but on the break they can get after anybody and create and score goals. So this is going to be a tough game for City, but clearly you have to think City are favourites.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.